So look, there's typically only two entry points into venture capital, right? I think when Sid and I were kind of exchanging back and forth, it was like, oh, VC comes later in your life, right? That's not true. The best entry point into venture capital is early on, right? Just after maybe in India, you do your MBA immediately after your undergrad, but sometime after that, right? As an analyst or an associate getting in, and then you grow through the firm, right? You build your track record within it, you learn. Like venture capital or even consulting for that matter is a very apprenticeship type model, right? So at McKinsey, for example, where I spent 7 years, the entry point is typically either after your undergrad or after your MBA, right? And then you grow through the organization. You understand, you do a bunch of products, you understand how the firm works, what are the frameworks that they have, and then you start understanding of what does it mean to be like a engagement manager, what does it mean to be a partner, what does it mean to be a senior partner, and so on. And so, but the firm operates a certain way, so they expect that. So same thing with venture capital. Venture capital is very hard to break into, by the way. So I'll just caution you, it's harder even than entrepreneurship, because venture capital by design is very lean, right? They're not huge teams, and so you really need to stand out to actually get into venture capital. But there's that entry point sort of after your MBA here, and or the entry point comes much later in your life. Sometimes if you've gone off and been an entrepreneur, done some great things, then the venture capital is listed like, oh man, that pattern recognition that you will have having operated will be extremely useful for you as an investor, because you know what works, what doesn't work. Maybe then you come in laterally, into as a vice president, principal or something. But I would say again, 80-20 split. 80% of people in venture capital started in venture capital very early in their lives, and so that was one thing I wanted to clarify, is that if you guys have interest in that, then I would think about it post college rather than I'll go do something else and then join venture capital. It's very hard to break into. But like even at MIT when I was doing my MBA, venture capital guys, the guys who go into internships or full time, are the last to get placed. So they are holding on, saying, "Oh, I hope some venture capital firm comes in." And some guys got it and some guys didn't, and then they had to go back to maybe doing okay, shit, I missed the boat Microsoft, but I'd really like to apply and maybe get a job somewhere else. So I think if you're interested in a career in venture capital, I would definitely try and look early on, but realize like what we just talked about, the skills, right, that you need. Financial mindset, you need to sort of be a little bit more risk averse, you need to have some deep domain expertise, some hypotheses, you need to be able to influence others, and you need to be able to comfort working alone. So you have to ask yourself these questions. It's not easy. It's not easy to go and do that. And there's also high stresses, right, associated with anything in finance. I mean, because you're playing with money and other people's money, and so there's a lot of obligation and pressure on you as well. So look, I think the bottom line here is you have to play to your strengths, right? I think you have to understand what you're good at. You have to be very brutally honest with yourself on what you're not good at. And that's where your friends and your family come in to really help you understand that. You may think you're awesome, and then someone else says, boss, you suck at this, right? Or you may not realize that you have a strength in a certain area, and your family or your friends will see that and say, hey man, you're really good at counseling others, right? Or mentoring others. That's good. You should kind of think about this, right? So be honest with yourself, and then you'll find the right career path basis that, rather than follow someone else's script. I mean, I grew up here in India. We know that we've been told, "Bacha, yahan IIT jana hai, uske baad McKinsey jana hai, uske baad MIT jana hai," all that stuff. I personally don't ascribe to that, but I know that most of us have been brought up that way. But now the beauty with a burgeoning sort of ecosystem of entrepreneurship here in India is we have other options. Whereas when I was growing up, we didn't actually have that many options. So